What is up, everybody? Phil Blackman with Barbend.com, and today we are going to talk about NBC's The Titan Games. So I'll explain what Titans are, I'll explain the kinds of obstacle courses that these competitors do, I'll explain who these competitors are, and there are some big names that compete on this show. But before we do, you have to smash that subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date on all things CrossFit, powerlifting, weightlifting, strongman, you name it. When it comes to strength sports, Barbend's got it better than the rest, and you're gonna wanna keep up to date. So what are the Titan Games? It's a good question. The Titan Games is this incredible obstacle course racing reality show where competitors from all over the country battle head-to-head on these gigantic obstacles that are the brainchild of the show's host, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And whoever can best the competition gets a chance to compete on Mount Olympus. What is Mount Olympus? Mount Olympus is this gigantic obstacle course that consists of 10 obstacles that stretch from one side of the arena all the way to the other where the show is filmed. Everybody is trying to get to Mount Olympus, but in order to stay on Mount Olympus, you have to beat whoever is the reigning Titan. In the Central region, it's CrossFit Games competitor Dani Speegle and CrossFit Games competitor Matt Chan. Yeah, that Matt Chan, 42-year-old Matt Chan, has not lost a step. In the West region, you also have another CrossFit Games competitor in Margaux Alvarez. The only unknown who is currently a Titan heading into the Titan Championships is Noah Palicia. Now, Noah Palicia, he had a crazy ride to get to where he is. In his debut on the Titan Games, he had to compete against his own brother. He bested his own brother in the first 3 events to get to compete on Mount Olympus. He then wins on Mount Olympus. So in his debut, he beats his brother, becomes a Titan, and then does not drop that title at all. He goes undefeated in 3 appearances on Mount Olympus, including the West Region Finals, and dominates all of them. Now we get to the East Region. So in the East Region, we have Courtney Roselle and Will Sutton, who has surprised everybody as Titans of the East coming into the finals. So in the finals, you have Dasha Corrett, who is a professional wrestler, Hannah Teeter, and Haley Johnson, the former Titan who was bested by Roselle in episode 10, coming back for a shot at redemption in the women's division. In the men's division, you have Tyron Woodley, Josh Porter, who is a paratrooper and gave Will Sutton probably the closest run he's had on Mount Olympus, and Andrew Hannes, who got to be the alternate replacement for Ryan Steenberg, a professional golfer, who on Mount Olympus ripped his bicep. He suffered a bicep injury and gave the win to Will Sutton. That was one of the less exciting of the episodes because of that injury. It kind of meant that it was a one-man show for Sutton. Still a title defense nonetheless. And so Andrew Hannes gets to replace Ryan Steenberg in the East Region Finals. So we get into the East Region Finals for both the men's and the women's division. They compete in a first event, triple threat, called Hammer Down. Now, Hammer Down consists of each athlete having to retrieve a gigantic sledgehammer out of 3 crates. So they lift up 3 crates. That releases their sledgehammer. They then take that sledgehammer and have to knock in 3 individual pins that are locked into gigantic poles. And once they get a 3rd pole to collapse down, they then have to climb that pole and pull a victory chain that's at the top of it. It's a really, really intense challenge. And it is the first 2 athletes to finish the course, to finish knocking down all 3 poles and pull that victory chain, that get to advance. Whoever comes in 3rd is eliminated from the competition for good. In the women's division, it was the most incredible come-from-behind victory the show has arguably ever seen. Haley and Hannah, so Teeter and Johnson, they both knock down their poles relatively quickly. They get to their golden pole. They're climbing for the victory chain, and they do so in really quick fashion, but they both struggle to climb the pole. They are both spent climbing that pole, and they use something that I've been calling sloth style, which is they climbed up the pole on the bottom side, and both fell. Both Teeter and Johnson, falling off their poles, open the door for Corrette to come in. She knocks down her gold pole, so she catches up, and then she does a strategy where she climbs the pole on the top using her leg as leverage, and she gets up the pole faster than the other 2. Talk about slow and steady wins the race. Everybody just counted her out almost immediately with how far she was from behind. So now it's down to Johnson and Teeter. They are both battling it out. They're clearly fatigued. It's really a war of attrition. And ultimately, it was the Olympic gold medalist snowboarder Hannah Teeter who pulls the victory chain for sending the 2-time defending Titan Haley Johnson home without a chance to make it to the Titan Championships. We'll come back for the battle between Teeter and Corrette in a moment. But first, let's hop over to the men's division and see what they did in the hammer down competition. It was between Hannes, Porter, and Woodley. So Porter and Woodley, they had that rotational power. No surprise coming from a UFC athlete. It's all about rotation. These guys are strong. Andrew Hannes is an Air Force veteran. He also has a wherewithal, but he struggled to figure out how to properly slam those pins in, and he was at a deficit early on. So Porter and Woodley advanced through hammer down, knocking out Hannes for a second time. The next round is an obstacle called resistance. Resistance is where both athletes are strapped to each other via a rope that goes through a center joint in the middle of the arena. And then both athletes have to try and throw out 75-pound barrels out of the ring that they're placed in. The difficulty about that, though, is because that they're harnessed to each other, there's only so much slack that can give. So when both athletes are running in opposite directions, they resist each other. Hence, the challenge is called resistance. It's the first athlete to throw out 5 barrels on their side of the arena, or whoever throws out more in the 2-minute time limit. So between Porter and Woodley, we'll hop into the men's division first. Between Porter and Woodley, it really came down to Porter just being the bigger guy. Porter was physically dominant. He never really gave Woodley any chance to build up any kind of momentum, and it is a total blowout. A 5-0 shutout. Josh Porter, the paratrooper, knocks out former UFC champion Tyron Woodley and sends him packing. Tyron Woodley has no chance to become a Titan of the East region. He's gone. Porter onto Mount Olympus. Back in the women's division, you have Hannah Teeter versus Dasha Corrette on that same challenge in resistance. These two women went the distance. They go all the way to the 2-minute time limit, and it is an incredible war of attrition. Now, Hannah gets an early lead. She gets 1 barrel over, and that's really all it took, and neither of them are able to get an additional barrel out. All Teeter needed to do was withhold her 1-0 lead. She does, and she advances to Mount Olympus, sending Dasha Corrette home. So now we go to Mount Olympus, and this is really where the action happens, because whoever wins on Mount Olympus now, this episode 11, the East Regional Finals, gets to be the Titan representing the East region in the Titan Championships. Okay, big stakes, the highest of the season. Who's it going to be? We hop into the men's division first, where we get to see a rematch of Josh Porter versus Will Sutton. Now, these guys had the most insane battle the previous episode on Mount Olympus. It was the closest race that Will Sutton has had to contend with thus far this season in all of his defenses. And it just came down to inexperience on Porter's side. You could see he was sort of clumsy through his first go on Mount Olympus. He didn't really know what to expect, whereas the experience on Will Sutton's side gave him the edge. So going in, we see Porter make up for all of the mistakes that he did in the first several obstacles the last time he was there. Porter gets the lead on Sutton into those early obstacles. It looks like Porter's going to be the first person to beat Sutton, because Porter gave him the run last time, but as they get through the Sky Bridge, which is an obstacle where they have to crank down this bridge to get to the other side of the course, Porter starts to slow down. You can see fatigue start to set in. Both of these guys putting everything on the line. Ultimately, Sutton gets to Titan Tomb first. He takes his sledgehammer, he bashes it open, he clears the rubble, he grabs the relic, he locks it in, and he is the Titan of the East region heading into the Titan Championships, undefeated on Mount Olympus from his debut, matching what Noah Palicia did in the West. So the Titan Championships between those guys is going to be a really interesting matchup, because those are the only two guys who have competed the maximum number of times possible on Mount Olympus and have never once lost. So we're going to see who bests who there in the Titan Championships. Bouncing over to the women's division. In the finals here on Mount Olympus, we got Courtney Roselle coming in for her first defense, and Hannah Teeter, the OG Titan of the East, coming back for some redemption. Early on, it's clear Roselle has the size advantage. So when it comes to strength obstacles, it's likely going to go to Roselle. That's the tail of the tape leading in. However, the agility side of it is probably going to lead towards the Olympian. So both had their pros and cons of who was going to be stronger and which obstacles coming in. Through the starting gates, it's tied. Through the box flip, it's tied. On the iron ascent, that's where Roselle makes her move. Roselle makes it through, gets to the ball and chain with a slight lead. Roselle takes it down. She gets to the Titan Tomb. She smashes it open. She locks it in. Courtney Roselle, first defense on Mount Olympus, is the most important. She earned her right to represent the East as Titan going into the Titan Championships. So now the Titan Championships are set. To recap, in the West, we have Noah Palicia and Margaux Alvarez. In the Central region, Matt Chan and Dani Speegle. And in the East region, we have newly minted East Regional champions, Will Sutton, the teacher from Tennessee, and Courtney Roselle from New Jersey. They will represent the East, and those are your 6 Titans heading into the Titan Championships. We're going to see which of them will come out on top and claim the title of Season 2. It is going to be awesome. You're not going to want to miss it. We are certainly not going to miss it. We're going to recap it. So stay tuned when we cover that. Until next time, I am Phil Bleckman for barbend.com. This has been the Titan Games recap heading into the Titan Championships. We will see you next time.